So welcome back to positionspecific.com and coaching journey 1. So looking at week 21, we're going to start off with a game review of Sheffield Wednesday and have a look at how that game went in relation to our game plan and some performance problems. We've then changed the training week a little bit because we've had a couple of requests from yourselves. So we're actually only going to focus on one sort of training session around our game plan, which is dealing with a 4-3-1-2 system, which we feel that Forest might set up in. We've then dropped in a set play practice, which someone sent in a request around how we would deliver the set plays. And then we're going to actually do 3 or 4 slides of how we switch the play. So 6 ways of switching the play when we're building, and then we'll look at our game plan moving into Nottingham Forest. As you can see, we've got a bar at the bottom, which is slightly different. So this is going to be a progression bar. So we've broke our presentation up now into sections, which makes it easier for you to drop into the video and back out. And if you look at the timeline, you've got the links in there where you can just go specifically after something within this presentation. So we're just trying something new just to try help you out, because each video is around 45 to 60 minutes long. Just makes it easier for you if you want to watch a little section and then come back in. So let us know what you think about that. And if you do like it, leave your comments below and we'll keep it in there for the next few presentations and then moving forward into coaching journey 2 of next season. So looking at the Sheffield Wednesday game review then. So we were setting up in a 4-3-3, moving into a 3-4-3. So as you can see straight away here, we had a performance problem within the systems. So we set out in a 4-3-3 like we always do, and Sheffield Wednesday was operating out of a 4-4-2. Now, for us as staff, we all try to identify what the opposition are playing straight away. Now, if there's a few of us, we'll have someone focusing on each unit. And if there's only 1 or 2 of us, we just both take down the notes and the numbers of where we think they're at. And then we come together after about 8 to 10 minutes to see if we've got the same sort of pattern of what the opposition are doing. So when we were looking at this here, we had a +2 on our defensive line, which we don't like to have because we're not negative. We were then stretched in midfield. So we was a -1, but because of their midfield stretched right across, it was hard for us to cover them distances. In possession, it could have been better if we were on a better pitch, because you might have been able to get an overload in that midfield area, but it wasn't the case. And then there was a -1 on that top line. So if you look in there, 2 negative areas just is a performance problem for us. So it's fine because you can get your advantages. Like I've just said, you might be able to overload the midfield. You can keep your 3 up against the 4. But anything in the transition, what you'll find is they'll have players in certain areas where they can hurt you. The big thing that we had an issue with at the start is they were going into a 4-2-4, but one of them sometimes was dropping into the pockets of space, and one was like operating as a 10. And this is where we were in between a staff of like whether they're a 4-2-3-1 or a 4-4-2 going to a 4-2-4. Now, when we got this scenario here, this would disjoint our back line a little bit. So our centre half sometimes would step out, which then would create space for the other forward. So as you can clearly see, there was a lot of gaps which was appearing. Now, I'm not saying they exploited the gaps, but again, to us, it was only a matter of time before they would exploit them key areas. So we decided to change the system and go to a 3-4-3. Even if their player was operating as a 10, so sometimes up against our line and going as a 10, what it did is it kept our players goal side, but they could also see the ball and the man. So we weren't relying too much on communicating from the centre-backs to midfield. What we could do is we could communicate as well, but also see the play. So we're not always looking over our shoulder, and we can see the ball and the danger at all times. So we decided to go to this, which then gives us a +1. Stretch our midfield out. So now we're man for man. And then just keeping that same scenario at the top. And that just gives us a little bit more stability, and especially in the defensive transition, we can start to find a marker a lot quicker. So looking at the attacking organisation, I put this down as a performance problem actually at the start, although we did dominate sort of possession. Now the issue is we had a decision to either call the game off or play at a different venue to where Sheffield usually play. And we just wanted to play the game, you know, obviously with everything that had gone on throughout the season and stopping and starting all the time. We just decided to play the game. When we got there, the pitch wasn't great. Sheffield Wednesday apologised, which is fine. It's not a problem to us. We just wanted to get a game on. The pitch was quite tight and it was very, very lively was the pitch. But for us, there was no excuses. You could see it on some of the players' faces. They were a bit disappointed in the warm-up, but end of the day, it's another scenario for them that they've seen. It gives them different problems to solve. And I think for young players sort of going through this pathway, they've got to experience a lot of different scenarios. And I just felt that this was another great experience for the boys. So no excuses on that. But what we were trying to do is when we were trying to build like we want to build, it was very lively was the pitch. So it was always one pass away from a mistake and giving them an opportunity to maybe get a set player or a chance on goal. So it was quite difficult early in the game. We did actually make a mistake early doors, give a free kick away and they scored from it. But for us, it was just trying to keep them confident, keep trying to find solutions, and then whether we was going to adapt our style because of the pitch. Now, when we changed to the 3-4-3, everything was a little bit tighter and closer, especially on that first line build-up, which sort of helped us, and there was less mistakes, but also it gave us more space if there was a mistake. So we did start to get control with this. And when we first was building, especially with the 4 higher up, so in the 4-3-3, they just squeezed right on knowing that we was going to make a mistake. Now, because the passes were shorter, with less mistakes, we were a lot cleaner with our build-up, which then dropped their midfield line back. So we could actually get control. It was still very lively and it was challenging for the players. But again, that's just another experience for the boys. We did consider maybe trying to find a way of sort of going a little bit more direct from the keeper, but we just wanted to see how this would work first. So because it was lively, we talked about finding the free player quickly, so with limited passes. So instead of sort of drawing them down one side and switching the play and trying to play through midfield, where we were going to, at some point, it was going to break down because of the pitch. It was all about finding the free player and then looking to exploit them forward spaces. So as you can see, because of the system here, we knew straight away the connection between the wing back and the wide forwards was going to be important. So a couple of things that we looked at as soon as we found the free player, then we looked to exploit the space beyond. And that was just part of our game plan around the pitch and how we had to adapt within game. So it was find the free player, exploit the space, and then we looked at certain movements. So 11 could come feet, 3 could go beyond, and the same on the other side. Our midfield then was all about squeezing on and picking up the second ball. So they knew they'd support, feet, and then go beyond. We also, especially at half-time, we spoke about going into a 3-3-4. So we knew that we'd got control of this sort of first line, that we didn't need that extra body in that midfield. Now, you could argue that on the turnover, so if we didn't get that first pass right, they could have that overload in that midfield area. But it was just a gamble that we were happy taking. So we talked about one of the midfielders getting right up against them and going 4-on-4. So once we found that free play, then we're looking for it. the key message to them is when we're playing them passes, they must go beyond. They can't fall short. And then it was just trying to get the 10 and the 9 up against the centre halves and the 7 and 11 right up as well. So just something that we played with the second half and caused loads of problems with. Defensive organisation was good. We won the ball back early doors. If I'm honest, they then started to just sort of play direct. So every time there was a bit of a transition and it fell, it was a turned ball, and tried to get it onto our back line as much as possible, which is good for us because it's another way for us to try and adapt and deal with a different scenario again. What we needed to be aware of, so our information is when our back three was there, that 2 are really tight and 1's covering the space beyond. And then our 2 midfielders had to always be ready when the ball turned over or it fell to one of their players, that we had to make sure that we were goal side of their midfield. So anything that goes over your head, can you then react to the seconds? So, but it was really, really good, and we dealt with this really well. And when there was going long, we were winning that first ball with 3v2 duel, and then we picked up the seconds. So overall, another great experience for the boys and the team, us as coaches as well. I think it's important that we play these types of games because a lot of the games are played on nice pitches and nice areas, and unfortunately, this isn't the pathway that every single player is going to take. They might have to drop a few leagues and play for different managers who play different styles, and obviously play on different pitches to try sort of rebuild their career. So I think having these experiences for both teams is vital in a player's development. So overall, we were happy with it. It was very tough. I wouldn't say it was good on the eye. But for a development point of view, it was really good, and also it sort of give us an idea of how our players can cope with these different scenarios when everything's not perfect. So looking at week 21, like I mentioned in the intro, we've done something slightly different for this week. And I think it's good to sort of mix it up a little bit, because anybody who has watched the journey will see that we use quite a few of the same sessions, especially when we haven't done something for a while, or we need to go with the same tactics, or we need to do some more position specific work. I think that's a good thing because it keeps you in the same structure and you're not jumping around with your sessions all the time. But I think for presentations like this, I think it's good to mix it up and see what you want to see. So what we've done is the first session will be just a 10v10 game that we actually use to help us within the game plan for Nottingham Forest. The second session will be a set play practice, which was requested. Somebody just sent us a message in just asking if there's a different way that we do our set play training. So we put one of our small-sided games together, which we use for a bit of fun, but all to bring out some of the tactical work that we want when defending crosses or set plays. Then we're going to have a look at some switching play, which was again requested. 6 ways of switching play when we're building, which is from our game model. And then obviously we'll move into the game plan where we'll just focus on certain areas because I think everybody's getting familiar with how we do our game plan now anyway. So looking at session 1, dealing with a diamond. So this was more around attacking organisation, and then we touched on a bit of the defensive stuff as well. Not too much, but it was just a bit of a guideline. We had the tactics board at the side. We worked for 30 minutes. We played 2 long stints. What we actually did do is we didn't play for a full 8 minutes. We broke it up halfway through. So after 4 minutes, we brought them in, give them a couple of challenges. This was just something that we did on the day. To the left, you've got the practice details, so you can have a read through that. You've got the practice outcomes there, shape, support, speed, supply, and then the physical data to the side. So as you can see here, we didn't have any keepers in. The keepers were off working. We had a 10v10. We were set up in a 3-3-1-3, and then we set the opposition up in a 4-3-1-2. Now, to start with, what we said to the players is try to work out of these areas as much as possible, unless we're giving you certain triggers. We wasn't too fussed if players did drift out of it, but we were sort of saying just remember to draw back to where your position in your zone is. Now, the idea is for the whites is to play from the coach and build in here, the 3v2, to then break first line to go into the second line, and then we'll look at like some rotations, and then all they're trying to do is get the ball into the coach here. We'll always start from both coaches, so we'll also give the Reds an opportunity to play and build and try to get through and cause problems, and that's where within the practice we'll look at maybe some performance problems that we haven't picked up on some of the analysis. So I'll just play the video. So here, this gives us an opportunity to work on what we wanted to do. So divide the two, outside shoulder, and then we can either play one side to draw them in to go out the other way, which you'll have seen us do, or we'll play central to start with to try draw one of the forwards in to get out down the side. Midfield stay high, and then obviously try to keep these pinned in here as a 4. So build any way they want. Once we find the free player, and I'll just rewind that slightly. The first thing that we did say to the players, we didn't go about the rotation. We just talked about find the free player and break the line, and then fix into this space here just to see what pitches come up. So the first one was find the free player, fix the second line, and then how does this affect your movement as they fix? So that was the first thing. The second part of the session, we talked about rotation. So we talked about the side of our diamond coming out, and then our wide forward going on the inside, not necessarily dropping in yet, but going between the 5 and the 3, the 2 coming in here. If he wants to stay there, that's fine. We'll play into him. We'll try to draw him across, and then we'll look to break lines or go out the other way. If the 11 steps out, the 7 comes in to be the free player. If the fullback goes, that's where the 2 goes beyond. So that was one little rotation with just these 2, so these 2 connected. If they're both man for man, stay wide, 9 comes in. And that was a connection between the 9 and 10, so if the centre half goes, the 10 can go. But these were just little connections that we talked about within the game and showed them a couple of pictures. 7 drop deep, side of the diamond beyond. Now, whenever we've played any games this season, and we've spoke about this one, if their fullbacks man for man drop deep, the side diamond's a really good one to exploit the space, or even the 9 coming off the side of the centre half. That's a really good way of progressing when you found the free player in these system matchups. So you can, even if you get a run up on, so if the centre half steps in and the side diamond knows what's happening, they can get a run up on their mark and play the ball into here. So you're still going to progress with the ball. We did talk about as well is the 9 coming back in again when both 2 and 7 are wide, if we don't play that direct ball. And then just a little challenge, 4 seconds to get back into their zones and systems, and out of possession, the same stuff that we talk about all the time. Lock them in down one side. What does it look like in midfield? We did do a couple of stop stand stills around, right, what does this look like? And then we just let it play, and then see if they could bring out the rotations themselves. And it was just real simple practice. As we built on, we then brought the keepers in, went to 11v11, and then just let them play to see if they took on the information that we've given them, and then just give them little pointers if need be. So session 2, set plays. So I know what it's like as a coach. Sometimes it can be frustrating doing your set plays. And some of the stuff that we've done is we've just come up with sort of different designs and different ways that we can still get some of the tactical stuff out, but try and make the session fun. This session that we've put in here, I saw one of the English FA guys deliver this actual session, and it was really, really good. Really enjoyed it, so I thought I'd take that from him. We've designed different ones ourselves, whether it's 1v1s, 2v2s, 3v3s, 4v4s. But I just felt that this would probably be a good session to stick in there, because it's sort of one what's in our library, and it's one that we saw from obviously one of the FA coaches, which really enjoyed, and we've done it with the players a number of times, and they've enjoyed it. So you set up as you can see here, you can make it as big as you want. You can put whatever players you want. You can go with whatever system you want. But in this here, we've just got our back four and our number 4 because that was what we wanted to work with. And then we've actually got our attacking line against the defensive line. Now, I know in set plays, it can be slightly different because you'll want your defenders attacking set plays. But this was more of a defensive organisation one for us. Now, if you've got multiple players or you've got someone who you're going to have them on set plays, they can just stay on the outside of the pitch and deliver them all. But for us, we just wanted to have a fun game and let them have fun, but put some of the tactical elements in there. So details are here. We've got some stuff here around the performance wheel, physical outcomes here. 6v6 game, 6 balls on the outside. So one game will be the 6 footballs, and then we'll restart. And if we want to shuffle a couple of people around, we will. Objective is for the Reds is just to score from any set plays. So every game started with a set play to try score from that direct set play. So we'll give them 2 points if they score from that. And obviously White's is to defend the set play. And if they can score in this goal here, they will. Anytime we've started a game, if the ball's in the pitch, it's live, so the play. When the ball goes out, then we restart from one of the other balls. I'll just play that now for you. So as you can see here, the red picked this ball here, so it's like an attacking free kick. It could be set up like a corner. We tend to set this up like a corner, so we went 3 zonal, 2 markers. And again, you're just looking at the detail, body shape. And for us, the non-negotiables is a quick setup, first contact, second contact, get out quickly. So they're the 4 things that we look at. But as a coach, you can stop it and go in and get some right detail in here if you want to. And I'll just let this play through just to show you. So if the ball's in play, it's live. And then when the ball goes dead, we'll start with another ball. So first priority for the Whites is to defend. Second comes in. If Whites go and score, that's a bonus point. If Reds score direct, they also get a point as well. As you can see, it's a quick fire game. And how you want to manage this is up to you. But for us, it's a real fun game and a good way to work on some of the set plays within a small-sided game. So good. It'd be good to see what your thoughts are around this session. Really good one that we picked up. And then we can share some of what we've done as well. Because we've brought this down into smaller numbers and bigger numbers. So we can share some more of these. But it'd be good to see what your thoughts are around this session. If you do something similar, if you do, or you've got any comments on it, just make sure that you leave them below. So just looking, building at the attack then. And what we like to do is make it as clear as possible for the coaches and the players on what we're all looking for. And to make sure that everybody understands. So we divide the pitch up into thirds like a lot of people do. Now, what we don't do is we don't talk about building, creating and finishing in each third. We like to use the first 2 thirds as what we call our building area. As you can see to the right-hand side, the green area there. In that final third is we like to marry up creating and finishing the attack. I feel like that they come hand in hand rather than being creating the attack in that middle third. What is building the attack? So building the attack is triggered by 4 scenarios for us. So the first one is if we complete 3 consecutive passes in the first 2 thirds, that drops us into what we call building the attack. Goal kicks, free kicks and throw-ins. So anything that's a dead ball situation in them 2 thirds, again, that is us building the attack. So when you start to look at our targets and how we analyse the game, that just makes it clear for us as for the staff and players on when are we building the attack. The target for us is to get into the attacking half 35% of the time or more when we're in possession. Really, really simple. And when we're talking about getting the ball into there, that's secure possession. So that's a player getting on the ball and linking or crossing or finishing staying on the ball for 3 seconds. So how do we get into the final third? We like to use 4 key actions when building the attack to help us achieve this target. Now, yes, we have the performance wheel, shape, support, speed, supply. But what we do is we like to drill down in each area and have a little bit more information for the coaches and the stuff that we can work on within the sessions. So we talk about positional play, which marries it with a shape in our performance wheel. That's 3 to 5 seconds. Fill the 5 channels or connect with the units. We work off 3 connections or 2 structures when building. When I'm talking about 2 structures, it's either a back 4, back 3. We look for opportunities to draw and switch, which we're going to talk about now. So draw the opposition down one side to switch to play. And we have 6 ways of doing that. Breaking lines is all about finding the free player who can progress. That's either a pass or dribble. We have 5 actions for that. And then obviously we use rotations and overloads. And again, this is against different systems. We've got the question marks in there because we still play with this type of stuff and we're always experimenting, but we do have 2 or 3 clear rotations against each system of what we go after, which makes it easy and simple for us as coaches. The reason why we've got the drawn switch and the breaking lines highlighted there with the lock is because these go hand in hand. So I want to give you an example. If you play the ball to your left centre half and they can break lines. So if the opposition are disjointed or you've really got on top of them, then don't move away from breaking lines. The drawn switch is there when you're playing against good sides who are organised. So it's just there as a tool to then try to break lines. Okay, so hopefully that's clear. So whenever we're doing our sessions, we're always talking to the players is there an opportunity to break lines? What's the numbers look like in front of you? If not, we'll draw and switch to then break lines. If they're really, really organised and move across the pitch well, that's where we might have to use a rotation or an overload. But hopefully that makes sense. So just to give you an example here, so this is us building, and we use 6 ways to draw the opposition down one side of the pitch, trying to create a strong side for us to attack. So you can see the drawn switches down here. So we have a direct switch from the centre back. It could be from the full back, but we tend not to use that because it's such a long ball. And again, when you're playing against good sides, that's a real trigger for them to press. We use 2 using the goalkeeper, so 2 ways. One's on the second pass, one's on the third pass. Defensive midfielder, attacking midfielder, and wide forward. You could argue that you can use the forward to switch the play. There is other ways of switching the play, don't get me wrong, but these are just what we call the main 6 actions of doing it. And if you can get your team working off these, 9 times out of 10, you're going to be okay when it comes to switching the play. And obviously there's going to be actions in the game. There's going to be different ways of doing it, but that's football. All we're doing is trying to break it down that this is, these are the main actions that we see all the time in most games. So just to give you an example, I'll use the goalkeeper second pass. So drawn switch using the goalkeeper second pass. So you've got your setup, which you can see here. It's the back 4. And these will be things that you've seen before, but we just like to break it down into its simplest format. So when we're talking about the second pass, that's the first pass into the centre back. The opposition are moving across. This player can play back in one touch or stay on the ball depending on how the 9 works. The free player is obviously the second centre back. We're still getting these players to work their specific movements. But in this scenario here, short, clean passes into the keeper, and then we work off the centre-back, dividing these 2 to progress or drop off to try draw the 11 out. We leave that decision up to the centre-backs. Again, if the 11 jumps on, which you'll see quite a lot, then it frees up the full-back. We've got to remember is that first initial pass most times would draw the opposition across, especially if you've got the right system match up. So this is where you can work with your keeper hitting the long diagonal. And then that's where we're looking to exploit the space in the overload. So we'll just go back. So we'll have a look at the keeper on the third pass. Same setup. Building with a back four. This might happen if the nine's on the other side. But now we're asking the centre-back to fix, take an open touch and progress. And what you might find sometimes is the nine's on the other side and these are organised. So it's still really hard to break that line. So you're trying to draw that nine in, fix a space. So this is now where we use the fullback. So we're talking about a third pass. Plays in, makes a forward run. You can play a clever one around the corner for the centre half to step in, but it can leave you open on this line here. So your fullback's got to be aware to come inside. So that's if the nine doesn't follow him, and then you break that first line. What you'll find is most of the time the nine will go with him, which then frees up your opportunity to go back to the keeper and then get out the other way. So drawing them one side and switching the play for a third pass. Again, trying to get the five to either go in between or drop to manipulate the 11's positioning. Same scenario now, exploit the space. We'll have a look at the attacking midfielder. And we're using the videos just to play down the left, just to keep it simple all the time. Open touch to progress again. Nine might have locked them in now, but our right centre-back is the free player again. Keeper stays in good habits and gives a quick supporting angle, because I could still go back and use the first two that we showed you. Still works the same movement, just in case he uses a three. But what we can do now is we can use the link pass from our attacking midfielder. So you see your scenario here. Now the 11's jumped. So this is some of the detail that you need to work on with your attacking midfielder, that if they jump, then the fullback becomes free. Remember, because we've drawn the team on this side of the pitch, their left back in this matchup should have come round and covered. Now, if the player clips the ball into there and the fullback's cheating, stays there, then that's something that we might have to reconsider and have a look at a different way. And again, you've got that same scenario. So this is just the game brought down, and these are just things that we've watched over the last 15 years of like successful patterns and different ways of drawing and switching the play. We know there's multiple ways of doing it, but we just like to work off a real simple format for the players, and we usually like to work off the actions that happen most in a game, and these are the types of things that we see. Anything else is up to the players of dealing with that scenario and how they want to deal with each sort of performance problem. So just to show you quickly, this is it brought down. So these are our practices. So we have them broke up into what we've just talked about. So we have the two goalkeepers, defensive midfield, attacking midfield and forward. So we have technical practices, and then we have some team practices down here. So I'll just show you one. Technical practice back four, and this is the third pass using the keeper. Again, you could adapt this any way you want, depending on your numbers. Ball goes in, fixes the space, double movement, play it in, makes a run beyond, come out this way. And then you can either play into the 5, or you can play into the 2 to break the gate. Obviously, it's important to get the security around the ball. So making sure that your team get into good habits, make sure they're set up for the defensive transition. Then you can work the opposite way. Again, same technique. Playing that long one in there. So it's up to you how you want them to do it. You could maybe say the first 2 or 3, they're playing to the centre back and drive and pass. The second couple could be into the fullback, but our team are used to doing this now, so we just show them the practice, and then they go out and then they do what they want to do for around 5 to 6 minutes. And then obviously within this, you can work your different ways of drawing and switching. But hopefully that gives you a bit of an idea around the 6 ways of drawing the opposition in and switching the player when building. If there is any questions around this, just make sure that you leave your comments below, or send us a message on any of the social media platforms, or email us. But hopefully that just gives you a bit of an idea of how we break down the game. And like I say, everything that we put together is just things that we see in matches over the last 15 years. So we started the project a long time ago, where we just spend maybe 6 months of just looking at a certain part of the game and what it looked like. And that was just for us to try and make it as simple as possible, not only for us, but for the player. Because like a few years ago, I'm going back when we first sort of started, we just had like a big methodology, which had about 200-300 pages, and it looked brilliant, but it was really confusing, and it was difficult to run through. So for us, it's just been about now with just trying to make it as simple as possible. So again, just want to let you know that there's a deal on our website. So you can get the 2 defensive midfielder books for £5. Little comment there to the right-hand side, which has been good. It's, some of the feedback that we've had, not just from coaches, but players, has been exceptional. So if you haven't yet gone on there and got that deal, make sure that you do. I've left the link below, or get yourself on positionspecific.com. You can get them, you can play with them, and it'd be good to see what your comments are. If you have got these books and not left a comment yet, or a review, make sure that you go onto the website and leave a comment on there. We've also got free to download the Centre Forward Poacher and then Connecting Coaches. These are just smaller versions of the other books. So the Poacher is a similar version to the Defensive Midfielder, just a little bit smaller. The Connecting Coaches is slightly different. We did a project at the start of when we set everything up, and we got a load of coaches to send us some drills in from all over the world, and then we just stuck them in this book. It is primarily focused around defensive organisation, professional phase, and unit work, and that was just down to a little survey that we did of what everybody wanted to go after. Again, just another comment to the right. If you haven't downloaded these yet, make sure you get onto positionspecific.com. I'll leave a link as well below. Get on and download them. They're free. And get your comments on there and let us know what you think of them. And if you've got 10 minutes, go onto the website and have a look at some of our short blogs around the 10 systems. I know that most people who have been watching the journey will have been on and read them. It's just a short blog with a couple of videos. So if you haven't yet seen them, make sure you get on the website and have a read of them. So looking at the game plan for Nottingham Forest, we're going to start off in a 4-3-3, and then depending on how the game goes and what Forest are set up in, potentially could move into a 1-3-3-1-3 system. So the what if system changes then. So if they're playing a 4-2-3-1, 4-3-3, that's what we're going to stick with to the left-hand side. If then they are playing a 1-4-3-1-2, because of our personnel, we're going to bring our right back into midfield and our left back onto the defensive line because of the players that we're going to start with. We're going to leave that front three as it is. Okay, but that's going to be the change in system if that's what Forest are playing. So everybody will be getting familiar with this now. So a high press 1, when playing against a 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1, we divide the back 4, we set the scene, and we lock them in, making sure that everybody understands their role. predominantly most of the players will be working on the inside shoulder to keep them on one side. And then we look to win the ball when it goes wide. High press 2, this depends on what the opposition are set up like. So I say it every week that it could be a weaker centre half, and this is what the team are starting to get used to now. They're getting used to dictating the player and where they want them to go. And then we can jump press from the centre. So just something slightly different. So if they're right back's slightly weaker, we can force a play onto them and jump press from the 10, or we can go with the 9. This is just a different way of pressing, so surprise press. If playing against a 1-4-3-1-2 system, so like a diamond in midfield, then what does it look like? And obviously, looking back at the sessions earlier, you saw a brief moment of how we want to press. So the front 3 stays the same, the divider back 4. The difference in the dynamics is our midfield and our back 3, but the principles don't change. So we lock them down one side, 11 stays with a mark, 7 comes across, and then we're compact and tight in midfield. The back 3, just making sure that we're ready to deal with any long ball. So 2 tight, 1 cover, and then making sure that the keeper's positioning is right. So it's a very similar setup to what we're doing if it's a 4-3-3. So the message isn't different. The principles aren't different. It just looks slightly different. So defending corners, and again, I've just stuck these in here because a couple of people wanted to see them. We don't work too much on them, but some of the detail that we work on, some more the individual and small group work that we did in that defending set play practice, it comes into this here, more around the defending corners. So we have 2 out, which are going to deal with corners. So just in case they go short, 3 zonal, and then man-to-man picking up, making sure that we leave 1 high up the pitch and maybe a 2 if they don't have 2 men going short, because our centre forward then can step on. Same setup on the other side. 2 to deal with 2, zonal, pick up, and then ready to counter. If it's a near post, our back zonal player drops onto the back post to cover that side of the goal. If the ball's swung to the back post, our nearest zonal player drops onto the line and covers that side of the goal. So looking at the attacking organisation, so playing against a 4-3-3, again, everybody should be getting familiar with this. This is building with a 4. We don't change structure depending on how they press. If they jump press on the 10, we can go to a 3. But this just gives you an idea of how we do it against a front 3. So again, we're looking to draw and switch. So some of the stuff we spoke about earlier, that's one of our ways of switching the play through the 4. And the other way is through the keeper, which we spoke about a little bit earlier. And then we're just looking to overload that side of the pitch. So draw them in, switch the play, exploit the space. And then making sure that we have that security behind the ball at all times for when it breaks down. Again, we'll set the scene. So we're trying to draw them down one side. Went direct across the pitch. And then we can look for that inverter, depending on how the 7 or 11 press. But it's just a different way of doing it, especially when you're playing these 4-3-3, 4-2-3-1. If we're playing against a 4-3-1-2, we go to a 3. And this is a structure that we talked about that we're going to do in the game plan. So our right back's going to go into midfield. So it's all about now manipulating their front 2 and finding the free player. So breaking that first line, real simple one, straight in. Then our central centre back can win the back. Real simple one of breaking that first line. And then the other one is to play central to draw in the forward and then get out down the side. Break the second line by a fix or rotation. This is some of the stuff that we talked about in that first session of this presentation. The little rotations between them. So the players get this the night before the game, just to remind them of how some of the connection work helps them break them lines for us to progress. So I'll just run through that game plan quite quickly, because I know that everybody who's watching the journey is getting familiar with that now, and it's the same pictures. I know we've done different visuals over the 20 plus weeks, but for us, it's just about sort of keep going over the same messages and making sure that everybody's taking in the information and making sure that we're delivering on the pitch, and that the coaches are seeing the same pictures as well. Like I say, we're happy to tweak different things, and if there's anything that you want to see around the game plans, then we're happy to tweak certain things. So have a little think, and if there's anything you want us to add, just leave them comments below. Do apologise, we did miss one of the requests around the pre-match warm-up. What I'll do is I'll add that into the Man City game. I'll put the pre-match of what we did before the game, or what we usually use anyway. So do apologise that we missed that, but we'll get that in on the Man City game. So looking at week 22, as you can see there, it's going to be a fascinating week. We'll start off with a review for Forest. We've squeezed in a little session before Manchester City. There'll be a light shadow play around what we want to do in and out of possession, just to give us some ideas and a little bit of analysis. We're then going to put in another session in between to help us adapt what we do against Man City for Manchester United. And I've just been thinking I might tie in week 22 or week 23, because of we've got to play Man U in a home and away tie. So we're playing 2 Tuesday nights, home and away. So I might tie in week 23 with this and make it just a little bit of a video, longer video. So it might just be more around going straight after the game plans, what it looked like, and then following that trend over the next game. Again, just want to say thank you to everybody for watching the journey and supporting us. If you have been enjoying it, make sure you press that like button. If you haven't yet subscribed, make sure that you subscribe, and make sure you turn them notifications on so you see week 22, maybe week 23 together. Thank you again for your support, and we'll see you next week.